Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Even If podcast. I'm your host, Christy Lowe, and I'm glad you're back with us again today. You know, we have been having some really in-depth conversations in the past month since we started the new year, some really tough conversations, some things that have probably stretched some of us. I know they've stretched me, and some conversations that have led to other conversations with you guys who listen. And one of the things that I'm realizing as we are kind of getting a little deeper into what we're doing each week is that we haven't stopped to just talk about the concept of trusting God with all of it. And, you know, if we talk about our faith, and one of the things about one of the just basic tenets of our faith is that we trust that God is who he says he is. He did what he said he did, and that he's coming back. And just general faith in Christ is just that. But when we begin to walk with God, it becomes a journey. It becomes this daily in and out. We bump up against something, we run into people. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but the moment I walk out the door, or the moment I get online, or the moment I get on the phone with somebody, we're met with the brokenness of creation a lot of times. And so I don't know about you, but sometimes I will ask myself, even as recently as this week, is he trustworthy? Can he handle it? And some of you know my story. You know that in 2016, my family of origin just went through a breakdown, a complete breakdown in that season of life. Whenever in 2016 subsequently through about 2020, it was about 3.5 years of me figuring out how to trust God, even if things didn't work out, even if I didn't get the fairy tale ending that I really hoped I would, even if he didn't answer my prayer the way I thought he would. And those are the things that when we bump up against them, it makes people sometimes say, are you trustworthy? Can you really handle my thing? Can you really handle this? Trusting the Lord is a lot like any other relationship you're having. It's built over time. It's about walking with him on a daily basis in and out. And I'll tell you, in 2016, whenever all that went down, I thought I knew him and I thought I had trusted him with my life. I had no idea how little I was actually trusting him really. Like how much I was still trying to control things, or how much I was still trying to determine his goodness based on the outcome. Has anybody else ever, that? So when we get to those places in our lives, it's about having walked with him over time. And the first step is accepting him as our Lord and Savior of our life. But it doesn't end there. And that's where I think a lot of people get stuck sometimes. And maybe that's you if you're listening today, is we've trusted him with our life. We've trusted him for our salvation, and our eternal salvation is secure. But he doesn't want to leave us there. He wants a beautiful, daily, sometimes minute by minute relationship with us. But how do we get there? That's the question, right? And, I love Hebrews chapter 11. It's the hallmark of faith. It's like the hall of fame of all of the people who came before in the Old Testament, talking about everything they had done, that they had walked by faith, okay? And faith and trusting God look a lot alike. I don't know if you started putting that together, but our faith is how much do we believe that he can really show up and do what he said he could do, right? And that he can move and act on our behalf, and that he hears our prayers. And so here's what I did today. So, by the way, and I want to say this before we go any further, go back and read. If you need an infusion in your faith, go back and read Hebrews chapter 11. It starts out by saying that, that our faith is sure of what we hope for, and it's certain of what we don't see. And then I love in verse 6, he says that without faith, it's impossible to please God. But then I love in verse 13, I love this chapter, y'all. It's one of my favorites. It really is. It reminds me of what these guys, like Noah building the ark, and Enoch, and Abraham, and just all of them, and like what they had to do when all they had was a promise. I want to give you something today that the Lord really infused on me earlier this week. I've been having a conversation with somebody about them trying to decide some things in their life. And then anyways, when I was talking to them this week, I went back to a place in Hebrews 11:13, and I'm just going to read it to you because I don't know if this is going to help anybody else, but I just think that it's a word for me today, and I feel like I need to share it with y'all. All right, so in Hebrews 11:13, he says, all these people, so he's talking about Abel and Enoch, and then he talks about Noah and Abraham, and he talks about all that they did, okay? You think about Abraham. He promised Abraham more descendants than he could count, and they were childless at a really old age. And so there were some promises that God made to them. And this is where he picks up in verse 13, Hebrews 11:13, he says, all these people were still living by faith when they died. They did not receive the things promised. They only saw them and welcomed them from a distance. Sometimes in my walk with him, I'll catch a glimpse of something he's doing. And he's never come to me and said, your descendants are going to be as numerous as the stars. I have no promises over my life like that. But there are times where I will catch a glimpse of what God is doing. And I have begun to realize that everything he shows me in my walk with him, I may just be expectant of it on this side of eternity. I may just be walking with him in faith and knowing that he has promised me XYZ. But it may not be about me. It may be for my future generations, the people that will come after me. And sometimes faith, this walk with Christ, I hope this is an encouragement to you today. It may just be an eye-opener, but sometimes it's not about you, and it's not about me. Sometimes it's about more than you. And I would actually say this, most of the time, it's not just about us. It's about more than us. He's working and weaving this beautiful story of all of our lives together for the good of his kingdom. You see, when we think of God's promises and we think of what I don't know about y'all, but sometimes it's like, what does he owe me, or what does he owe us? Well, he doesn't owe me anything. He's already given me more than I ever deserved in salvation. But I think sometimes we miss the mark that God's view is about kingdom building. He's building up his kingdom. He is all about, it's all about his glory. And sometimes the way he answers our prayers works out with that kingdom building that he's doing. And sometimes we don't understand why things work out the way they do. You don't have to live very long to see that there are going to be times where we just get our heart broken, where things hurt. We live in a broken world. He knows that though. And that's why he so badly wants us to walk in step with him. And is it easy? No, absolutely not. There are times when I am, there are times where it's just difficult. It's difficult to understand why things are going the way they're going, why you're dealing with something. But what I want to do today is give you something. Do you ever like go blind to things in your house? Like, like we have like a junk pile on our counter, like on our bar in our kitchen. And like, you'll just go blind to it. Does anybody else do that? Like you have like a pile. I'm also an ADD. I'm also very, very ADHD, and making piles is like one of the big signs of people who are ADHD. And I'm a pile making woman. And a lot of times, like I'll forget that the piles are there. Anyways, that really does not have anything to do with what I'm trying to tell you here. Let me get back to what I'm trying to say. On my refrigerator, okay, and I'm going to pull this up for my people who are watching this on YouTube. And if you don't watch it on YouTube, it's another way you can see it. But so I'm showing you the card. I've had this card on, it's just a little index card. And I've had it on my refrigerator for probably 2 years. I wrote it down a couple of years ago, and it came from and we're going to talk about what's on it here in a second, but it came from, hang on, let me grab, did y'all see how I grabbed that? Like, do you see, like, look, I can move my shoulder. Woohoo! That's physical therapy. Thank you, Tori. Anyways, so about 2 years ago, it's been about 3 years ago now. A friend of mine gave me this book, and it's called Two Chairs by Bob Beaudine. And it was one of those books that I read really, really fast. And so I love this book. And it's about the premise of the book is our time with him and what we're spending our time with him. But while I was reading that book back a couple of years ago, I came across this passage, and I don't know which page it's on, but I came across this passage in the book, and he starts talking about what we do when we don't know what to do. Okay. And so I don't know about you, but that's where we have to decide, are we going to trust him? Right? Well, he gave in the book, he goes through and he outlines the 3 questions everyone needs to ask themselves. And the first one, I just want to go through these. So if you are struggling with, can I trust him? What do I do? Here's the 3 questions, okay? The first question is this. Let me rephrase that. So this has been on my refrigerator for 2-3 years now, and I have at times seen it, and it will remind me. And I don't know if y'all are visual like me. I've got to have visual reminders. I write things out all the time, sticky notes, note cards. I put them all over. I've got them in my bathroom. I've got them all over my desk. Anyways, I just dropped it. Hold on. Anyways, so I've got this, card that Bob Beaudine wrote, or that Bob Beaudine talks about in his book. And there's 3 questions he wants you to ask yourself when you are dealing with something and you don't know what to do and you're trying to trust God. Okay. Can we increase our faith? The first question is this: does God know your situation? Does he know your situation? Okay. Now, I'm going to give you 2 things about that. The first is that, yes, he does know your situation. He knows everything. Okay. But that's not actually what Bob is saying here. Bob is saying, have you gone to him and talked to him about it? Have you told him, God, here's my problem? In our walk with him, it's about taking things to him and communing with him. And that's not hard. It can literally be as easy as saying, God, I don't know what to do with this. Here's the situation. That's prayer. We talked with Janet McHenry about prayer. And a lot of times my prayer life is very casual. Sometimes is it face down on the floor? Absolutely. Sometimes it's in the shower. I mean, sometimes it's on my knees. My pastor challenges us to get on our knees every day at some point in the day. He suggests in the morning, but every day get on our knees and say, Lord, this day is yours. Do with it what you want. And so sometimes it's on my knees. I'm having a hard time getting up off of my knees right now with my shoulder, so I haven't been doing it as much. But however, sometimes it's just sitting on the couch with a cup of coffee in the morning and saying, Lord, this is what's going on. I've got a kid that I don't know what to do with. Or, Lord, I've got this situation at work and I don't know what words to say. I've got a meeting with my boss and I'm afraid that I'm going to damage our relationship or our working relationship if I answer him honestly, Lord. So I don't know what to say. What do I do? So the first question that Bob Beaudine asks is, does God know your situation? The ultimate answer is yes, he already knows. But because he loves us and he wants this relationship with us, he wants you and he wants us to come to him and to say, Dad, I don't know what to do. The second question that Bob Beaudine asks in that book is it too hard for him to handle? And whenever I read that question in that book, I remember thinking, well, of course it's not too hard for God to handle. It's God. God can do whatever God wants to do. God's powerful. God's, he's all knowing. He's all powerful. He is the God of the universe. He set the stars and the ocean and the mountains in place. No, it's not too hard to handle for him. And so I think that question often brings me back down. A lot of times whenever we are struggling with a situation and trusting God in a situation, we begin to flip it inward and we start looking at just us. And whenever we stop and ask the question, is it too hard for him to handle? It just kind of sometimes makes me laugh because I just am reminded that the God of the universe knows and sees me and wants to commune with me in everything, no matter how big or small it is. So the first is, does he know your situation? Have you talked to him? And then, is it too hard for him to handle? That's the second question. The third question, and then we're going to wrap up, is, does he have a good plan for you? I'm going to let that sink in for a second. I want you to ask yourself that. Do you really believe he has a good plan for you? I wish I could, this is the point where I just wish I could see some of your faces. Some of you, I would love to look you in the eye and tell you just how loved you are and that he does have a good plan for you. And that even if it doesn't look like it's working out right now, or even if it has gone totally off the rails, he has a good plan for you. Faith is about choosing to believe that God is working everything out for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purpose. The hard thing is that sometimes we think that his good plan is exactly how we would have written the script. And I can tell you from experience that some of the hardest lessons I've learned in my walk with him have been the times where he didn't answer things the way I thought he should have. But I've realized also that's actually where real faith begins. When we can't see, we don't understand. And I can smile as I'm talking to you here because I've been there and I've done that and I got the t-shirt and the hat and, not this hat, but Yeah. Sometimes the things that whenever you would ask me, do I believe that he has a good plan for me? I might have said no in my younger days because it didn't work out the way that I thought it should or the way I wanted it to. But what I have found over and over and over again is how abundantly gracious he is and he continues to be. And when he doesn't answer things the way I think that they should work out, the thing I usually go back to is that he has over the years been so faithful. I mentioned at the top of the show that in 2016, things were just so messy with our family. And I have watched him since that time redeem and restore not only the wounds that I needed to heal from, that he has tended to so graciously and mercifully, but I've seen him redeem and restore parts of the story I never thought would even be on the radar to get redeemed or restored. And, I've said privately, I don't know if I've ever said it on here, that he redeems all things. I believe he redeems everything. And as we wrap up today, there's probably a situation in your life that has been a struggle for you. Maybe it's a situation that you don't know what to do with. You don't know which way to go. You don't have a clear direction, you don't think, from the Lord yet. And I just want to encourage you to spend some time, go through these three things. Does he know your situation? Have you talked to him about it? Is it too hard for him to handle? And does he have a good plan for you? Really sit with those things and get those things straight within you. I think it's going to take it from, you may not have all the answers. You may not know exactly how it's going to work out. It may or may not work out the right way, but you're going to have positioned yourself in such a way that you're going to be able to hear and receive from him the next step, the next word, the next thing you need to do, or in some cases not do. Friend, he loves you so much. I wish I could look you in the eyes and just tell you. I guess I am looking you in the eyes if you're watching me on YouTube. He loves you so much. He so much just wants to walk with you through everything you're going through. There is nothing too big or small that he doesn't want to be there and that he is not capable of handling. So I think that about wraps it up for us today. You are loved. You are adored by me, by God, by more people than you probably could even have fathomed. And I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for sharing this space with you today. I love you guys. And good Lord willing, I'll see you next week.